Hey everyone, welcome back to Passion Yappers. It's Christine here. Today we are going to share a little bit of a bonus episode. My romance obsession is the Jacksonville Rays series by Emily Rath, and anyone who has met me can tell you that I literally can't stop yapping about this series. Back when Chelsea and I were thinking of starting this podcast, we sat on a couch in front of Chelsea's iPhone to test out what an episode could be like, and we wanted to share some of that chat. We will, of course, be discussing the series again in a more official capacity, since I could probably write a dissertation on it at this point. But we wanted to share this for now since there were a few fun moments. As always, we both have ADHD, so this conversation gets weird. We'll be back early next week with our super professional deep dive of Game On by Nevessa Allen. Enjoy.
Hi. Okay, so Christine, tell me a little about yourself.
I'm a mom. I have a little girl. She's a toddler.
Cute.
And I work as a therapist, and I like to read.
What do you love to read?
Romance, of course. I love to read romance.
Well, I'm Chelsea. I live in Durham, North Carolina, and I have 2 dogs and 3 cats. I love to read romance. I specifically love dark romance. I manage a vintage store.
I got this skirt there.
It looks great.
Thanks.
We're both wearing 90s skirts today.
Yes.
Do we look cool, like we're from the 90s, or do we look like we're Amish? You decide. Everything that we're passionate about, we're going to share with you. So, Christine, what are you most passionate about that you've been reading currently?
So, my favorite series, my favorite romance that I got a little obsessed with and kind of like brought me all the way here is the Jacksonville Rays series by Dr. Emily Rath. I always kind of read when I was younger, read all the stuff that all like millennials read when they were kids, did grad school, did some stuff, like got back into reading when I was pregnant, and I read Red, White, and Royal Blue. That was kind of like my first romance. And when I was postpartum, I like continued down like all the popular romance romantasy books because I like would highly recommend anybody who's postpartum to read romance because it's just like, it's nice. It can be stressful, but it's not. Overall, it's always ends happy. And that's really nice and comforting when you are going through a lot of change and have a lot of stress and demands on your time. So I started reading more and more romance. And one day I was browsing on Libby in the Read with Pride section. And I saw this book with a, like, what I thought was a extremely silly title. It was Fucking Ever After, Volume 2. And I was like, a hockey romance? That's weird. I Googled it, and I was like, oh, this is a whole thing. Like, this is a whole thing that people read. I kind of thought that was weird. I went to a high school that was super into hockey. I played sports, but never really cared for sports. So I was just like, sports? That's weird. Like, I need to know more. There are so many of these. So I read a couple hockey romances. I read the first novella in the series that one night because it was available immediately from the library. And when I say read, I mean listened, because for audiobook girl.
We love audiobooks.
I loved it. I was immediately hooked. And the rest is history.
That's just history.
You like Jack's Rays too. So like,
I love Jack's Rays.
How'd you come to the Jack's Rays?
Yes.
Through?
My salvation story. So it's actually really funny. I was not interested in sports romance whatsoever. Didn't know anything about Dr. Emily Rath or Pucking Around or any of that. Also did not know the content of the book. I did not know it was a queer romance. I did not know anything going in.
I mean, I guess I knew that.
And that was the best surprise of my life.
Oh, that's so great.
To walk into a book shyly and not know what was going on and then be like, oh my God, I want this to be my life.
Yeah.
So I read the whole Packing Around series up until Packing Strong because that hadn't come out yet. And then I devoured all of her other books immediately. But yeah, love me some Emily Rath.
So I did the same thing. I remember like starting that one night. I mean, if you've read it, then you know that like she's at her brother's wedding, he's marrying another man. So I was like, oh, that's why it's in the Reading with Pride section. I also didn't know where things were going to go, and it was delightful.
It was a delight, right?
To find out where it went. So I read those books, and then I read them again.
And again and again.
Read them again.
You should tell everybody about how we met.
Yes. You know, once I like something, I want to yap about it. So I got on the internet, I started yapping, I went to the official Facebook group, and then after that, I decided to attend a reading retreat, which was really fun, with Dr. Emily. That's where Chelsea was.
We have a whole group of besties up in the Northeast. We just call ourselves the City Book Besties.
And then we just didn't stop yapping about books.
I can't give her a shout out.
You know, we like a lot of the same things. And Chelsea runs a book club that I joined, and now here we are wearing our Amish skirts, our matching Amish skirts, and making a podcast. So, what did you like about Jack's Rays?
Oh my goodness. There's so much that I loved about Jack's Rays, and it's actually really interesting because I've only read the series twice. I read it when it first came out, and then I read it again recently. And it's one of those things where I read through the entire series again, but then I will just go back to it if I need something on in the background. You know what I mean? Like, it's very comforting to me. I know this is kind of controversial, but the thing that really brought me into Pucking Around was Rachel. I love Rachel Price. And I feel like a lot of people don't really resonate with her, connect with her, you know, predominantly because of patriarchy of the world. Yeah. I feel like people see a strong, confident woman and, you know, are just like, oh, like, gives me a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. And she just completely, from like the very beginning of the series, owns who she is, knows what she wants, knows who she loves, and like goes for it.
I also really like Rachel. I know a lot of people don't like her, which is strange to well, it's not strange to me. I guess I can like follow along with the concept of not liking Rachel, but I disagree. Things that I've heard people say about Rachel are that she has no trauma, which I think is a wild take. Wild. Okay, and this actually brings me to one of my like Jack's Rays hot takes. I think people that don't like Rachel, I think people that don't like Jake, I think they didn't read that one night. And
yes, I actually agree with you.
Yes, and I will call them out on that. And I think that there's a lot of lore dropped in that one night about the two of them because one of the things that I like about these books is like, yeah, they're interconnected standalones, but actually they're telling like, you know, a pretty cohesive like overall story.
I would almost say that they are more than interconnected standalones. They almost feel like a sequel, you know, like it's just there's such consistency.
Yeah, and like so my take has always been that one night is the story of Jake and Rachel getting together. Like that is their story of them getting together. If you don't read it, you miss it, and it kind of like sneaks up on you and comes out of nowhere, and then you're just like, who is this unlikable woman who's making out with this hockey player on day one of their new job?
Right, exactly.
Or like, you know, you're like, who is this like golden retriever doofus, and why does anybody like him when Caleb's so hot and he's right there? Exactly. Like so, like you need that one night for those reasons, but also it's where you get all of their like lore. So it's like Rachel's lore. She likes her tattoo. She thinks about her tattoo. She says she got it when she was 15 at her dad's show when she had substance abuse issues. Like as a very young teenager. So that all counts. And if you didn't read that one night, it's like I'm sure it comes up again and it's like in the context of things, but like you don't like get it so spelled out for you. I got into it with somebody on the internet once because the whole thing about Jake and his like psychological profile. He mentions in that one night that him and Amy are twins, but he has an older sibling who passed away before he was born. And that like, you know, can create a family dynamic, right? And so like he already comes in with, you know, maybe like some kind of like survivor guilt. You know, we meet his parents later and it's like they have really high standards for him. They really hold him to like this ideal idea of like what they think he should be as their son. And it's like that all kind of like colors those relationships and who he is. Seems really happy-go-lucky, but he does have this like piece of baggage that literally never comes up again. And jumping around to like the thing that I think is the strongest part of Jumping Around, which is at the end when he speaks to Amy on the phone about Caleb. And she knows, like, she is like, you're talking about Caleb, like, she knows that he's into Caleb and talks to him about it. Jake says to her, like, it should have been me. Like, as in, like, when Caleb gets injured, like, it shouldn't have been him. It should have been me.
Survivor's guilt.
And he has that survivor guilt with Caleb. And to me, that, the first time I heard that, I was like, it should have been me. Like, I thought for a second he was talking about his, like, deceased brother. And not even Caleb. And comes back around. And if you didn't read that one night, you lose that depth. You don't get it.
Yeah. And I feel like an argument that I've seen a lot for that one night is just that I have heard the argument that, oh, it's just like a 45-minute sex scene, you know, like that's it. And I'm just like,
sure. Like, tell me you don't appreciate romance.
Right?
Tell me you don't appreciate romance.
And I think that is like a greater argument that's being had in the heated rivalry world is just the fact that it is there because it progresses the plot. And there's so many beautiful moments that happen in moments of intimacy. that happen that I think are so important, and like you say, like set up this entire rich tapestry for them.
That one is the story of Jake and Rachel. Pucking Around is Rachel and Omari, and Jake and Caleb. Pucking Ever After Volumes 1 and 2 are the story of Caleb and Omari. The best story.
I have never cried more. I have never cried more. Like, even thinking about it, I'm tearing up. Like, oh my gosh, that is like the most beautiful development. The love that was already there, but just like the acknowledgement of it. Holy shit. Woo!
The ultimate slow burn. The thing that I kept telling everybody is everybody's like the yearning, the Ilya Shane like yearning. I'm just like, if you like a yearner, if you're into yearning, you need to know Caleb. You need to know Caleb Sanford. You need to know him. He's the ultimate yearner.
He really is.
Yeah.
And I know we've actually discussed this before, but I would argue and say that I want to say it's kind of my favorite.
Yeah.
And I know that's wild. Like, I know that's not everyone's first choice, but I really love how complex his character is.
So yeah, it's like, I have Ilmari merch, right? I got an Ilmari hat right around town. If there was Caleb merch, I'd have it, but there is no Caleb merch. Yeah. If there was Caleb merch, I'd have it. Can't even rank anybody, right? Though, because it's like as soon as I say that out loud, I'm just like, I also love Jake.
I know. It's really different.
And I also love Ryan, because they're all like the greatest.
I actually have a question for you. The female characters in the book, who do you feel like you resonate with most?
I mean, like Tess.
Same.
Yeah. Actually really funny, like, because now we're like saying like, oh, this one and this one and this one. When I had my asynchronous book club as kind of like a get to know everybody thing.
Yeah.
One of the questions to get into the private Facebook groups that I like screened out people who'd never read the books was, who's your favorite Ray, basically. And so many people were like, it's like criminal for you to ask me to pick just one. Like, why choose? Like, literally, like, why choose?
Damn.
And I was like,
but it's so true.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're all bringing some different elements to the relationship, and they're all so different. It is really hard to choose, which is like, well, Rachel didn't have to, so why should we? Yeah, no, like, people literally were saying that to me, and I was like, fair criticism. Then I got in there and responded to the people being like, why choose? And I was just like, fair criticism. You should do whatever you like. Please rank them. Please create your dream polycule. Please do whatever you like. Rank them however you like. Tell me whatever. And that was a lot more of a successful exercise. People responded a lot better to that. Well, I want to know if you would ever consider reviving the group.
Oh, I would. I just neurodivergent lady and literally just lost track of it. So if you were in my asynchronous book club for Jacksonville Rays, I am alive. I am alive. I do still love the Jacksonville Rays, and we should literally continue to talk about it anytime.
Well, see, and that's the thing. When Christine was doing this, I didn't know her. And so now I could do this with you, and because I want a deeper appreciation and understanding of the world. And I need that by breaking it down. So what is it about the series that just like you're obsessed with that keeps you interested and keeps you engaged?
So when I came around to reading romance, like I said, postpartum, I started with like all the most popular romantic books, kind of like blew through those, got a library account, was just like kind of figuring out like what I was into, like what I liked. So I think this is about being a therapist, right?
Yeah.
I do generally find something to like about almost everything, but there are a lot of things that I just read and like move on from. And there are things that I read and like really stick with me and I think about very deeply. And this has been one of those things that really sticks with me, that I really think about deeply. And that's been hard because it's very popular, right? Like Pucking Strong was a New York Times bestselling book. So a lot of people read it. It's not like an ACOTAR or a Fourth Wing where it's like so popular and there's so much discourse and so much content to consume about it and so many people talking about it. So like I kind of had to make my own space to like talk about it because I was talking to everybody else about it, just like trying to convince my friends to read it so I could talk to them about it. Like just, because I had so many thoughts. And the reason I think that I gravitated towards this so much is because it's very smart. You don't have to be like intellectual or a genius to read it or anything. Like that's not what I mean, but characters are deep. And that's the thing about romance, right? Like this is the thing that I always think about romance is that like we know what's going to happen in the plot. We know there's going to be a happy ending. That's not what keeps you around. It's like it is the characters and like what they go through and how they evolve and come around to like to love each other and live happily ever after, right? Like, that's the interesting thing. And these characters are so interesting and complicated. And like, the more I went on social media and learned about Dr. Emily, the author, who like I've had the pleasure of speaking to a few times and is a really lovely person, I realized that we had a lot of the same values, right? Like about like justice stuff, politics stuff. She's got 2 PhDs. She's a really, really smart lady. So that like comes through in the book, because I got fascinated by the idea that hockey romance exists. I've read like 20 hockey romances, you know, at least,
Yeah.
right? And I've read ones that are good. I've read ones that are really engaging when I'm reading them and they float away, or like, but these ones weren't like that. They really stuck. And then when I dug into it, and it's like, oh yeah, it speaks to these themes that I feel really strongly about, like shame, trauma, relationships, like attachment stuff, really deep, like runs deep with me. My favorite character to reflect about is Jake, which I think might like be a little surprising to people, because it's like Caleb's obviously very complex, right? Like, you know, very complex, very interesting guy. Rachel, like, they're all complex. Like, Tess has her struggle, Ryan has his disability struggles, and, you know, family, like, boundary stuff. Like, they all have stuff, right? In like a very surfacey way. Jake is the like happy-go-lucky one. But I think he's the most interesting person.
Yeah. Well, going back to what you were saying, I feel like just about the way that Emily writes in general, the communication isn't performative.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you go into a book and they're trying to add on these elements of, oh, these people are non-binary, or, oh, these people are doing this thing that is writing into my narrative and upholding my values, right? It's so natural the way it happens in the books. It is, you walk into the space and it is already safe. It doesn't have to be established. And I think that is so important. So what about Jake?
Really, the thing that gets me about Jake is he is always the happy goofball kind of character. I think that that's kind of what allows the whole dynamic, is because he is so open-hearted.
Yes.
He comes around to like being in love with Caleb, and Rachel like makes space for him to do that, because she does have a lot of shame in some ways, and in other ways she's very like liberated in a way that like Caleb even isn't. Caleb and Jake both aren't. And I think a lot about, like, No Exit's my favorite thing, right? So No Exit is like in Puck Amber After Volume 2, when Rachel gives birth to their first baby. It's Jake's like biological child, and his parents show up, and there's this big conflict. Mari saves the day. It's great, and it's deep. And my favorite thing to think about with that, right?
Yeah.
The births in the series are so good. I think that's like a very reductive thing to say, but it's like, they're complicated. The stakes are, in my opinion, especially for like a romance genre, bad things don't really happen. There's 3 births and a 4th like postpartum scene, but some of them are a lot more stressful than others as far in terms of like the actual birth itself. I like to think of the 3 births next to each other. So like Fucking Sweet, Jake is there when Poppy's having a baby.
Yeah.
And he is goofing. And he is happy-go-lucky Jake. Like, he is like, she's all good, we're all good, I got this kind of vibes. Obviously, nobody's dealing with the other situation, which is like so stressful. It's so good.
Yeah.
I like to think about how Jake was at that birth, and then at Rachel's first birth, Jake is a nervous wreck. The thing that I like blows my mind to think about is that in between those 2 births was Tessa's birth.
Yeah.
Where Jake also was. And that was really scary. Tess was really in a bad situation. Like, it was scary. It was life and death.
Yeah.
And he saw Ryan there alone with the baby. And not alone, right? Because the team was there. And like,
it was different.
I like love the image of 6 giant hockey players just like bopping around.
I know.
For like mom baby unit of a hospital. It's like very goofy. And like, he was there, and that was really traumatizing. And like, Rachel was a mess. It's just like, after that, puts that like frantic nervous energy that he has at Rachel's birth in a different light. And I just think that he is like, the happy one. He's like the one you don't have to worry about, but like, there's stuff going on there. He has the stuff with his parents. He has the conflict with his parents. He does get mad at them.
Yeah.
He has this beautiful relationship with his sister, like the little glimpses of it that we get. I see her as being very protective over him, which we see in No Exit. She like stands up to the parents. The parents try to like, you know, triangulate with her hair a little bit. Yeah. Be like, can you believe Jake said this? And she's like, yeah, I can, because you suck. Yeah. She's like right on board with him. She's like very loyal, very Taurusy. They're both twin Tauruses. Gets right on board with him, and I see them as her being very protective over him and stuff. So it's like, he has like tough guy husband, right? Like tough guy husband Caleb, who does make space for him to be able to be light and goofy. but that doesn't mean that he lacks depth or isn't complex. And like when people say that he's annoying or that they don't like Rachel, I'm just like, what book did you read?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Caleb is the scary dog privilege.
Yeah, yes.
For the golden retriever.
Zayden Ryerson of Hockey Boy.
Yes. But actually.
In the book, when it describes Caleb as looking like a fey prince.
Yes! Wait, what fey prince do you imagine?
Yes, okay. Sam from Akatar, right? Like it's like the tall, dark, handsome, insert like generically good-looking man here kind of like vibe. But if you know Caleb, you know that he is a kingfisher.
Stop!
Right. Like he is not like
I see it.
He's kingfisher. That's his favorite.
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
What would if we're giving everyone like a fey prince background here, what would Jake be?
Okay, so I've actually thought about this way too much, right? Okay. I'm always out here preaching like the Jack's Rays gospel to everybody, like trying to convince them to read it. And I'm always like, if you like Rowan Whitehorn, you'll love Ilmari Keenan.
Ooh.
If you like Kingfisher, you'll like Caleb. But Jake is tough.
Jake is tough. You could be Carrion.
Carrion. No, because Carrion's like slick, you know, like Jake's not. Carrion is like not a golden retriever.
Yeah, he's goofy, but he's a different.
Goofy, but not in that way. Maybe like Riddick. Yeah,
really gives Riddick vibes.
Yeah, like Riddick. He's more like nice guy than Riddick though. Like Riddick is like big goofball. This 22-year-old dragon, old Atrum is. Yeah. They're just like happy, playful children. I like that like quality of Riddick. For Jake, like he is very just like open-hearted and childlike.
Yeah. I have to think about it. And then maybe we should say, what do you think?
Yeah, listeners, what do you think?
If you were to give a fey prince persona to Jake.
Or like somebody
who could, from another book.
Like super popular book, like, characters that everybody knows.
Yes.
Like, how would you liken him?
All right, Christine, so final thoughts on the Pucking Around series as a whole.
Yeah, so my final thoughts are that I'm going to use this time to make an ask of the universe, TV people gods, because I'm like, because this podcast is obviously going to be super popular. Obviously, people are going to take my opinion to heart about these things and convert it into like, more content about the Jack's Rays for me to consume.
Exactly.
That's the goal. I would hope that Major League Hockey, in the heated rival universe, would run out of Game Changers books to adapt. And then they would add an expansion team in Jacksonville, Florida, to the Major League Hockey world. And
that would be epic.
Jacksonville Rays would ensue.
Right? Oh my God.
And it would get the full Jacob Tierney treatment. And I would be hired to consult as a super fan.
I'll do costumes.
Who will give all of my if anybody knows the Handmaid's Tale book to the Handmaid's Tale show, I will give all of my here is one sentence and here's the entire plot line I've built around with a single mention of a thing in my mind. You don't even have to pay me. I just need it to exist so that I can watch it with my eyeballs. And that's it.
Yeah. Those are great final thoughts. Yeah. I've loved talking to you about Pucking Around. And I love Emily Rath so much. I could sit here and talk about all of her books for hours. I feel like she's just such an impactful writer and has changed our lives. Like, that's not even being dramatic. That's just actual reality. Like, she's legitimately changed our lives, which is so cool. This was so much fun. Thanks for chatting with me and have a great day.
Thanks for hanging out with us while we were being goofy. We're so excited to keep this podcast going and bring you more discussion of our favorite series and books and authors and tropes and characters and everything else we like to yap about. Follow us on Instagram at Passion Yappers Pod and subscribe to us here on YouTube so that you always know what we are covering and when we will be covering your favorites.